Howdy, heretics! It's the first Sunday of the month, and the first Sunday of the month is Disassociation Day, and we got a live one because this brother is one of Jehovah Witnesses, according to the member book of God himself. And we will help Jehovah to update this but he's really. Tell us your story. I'm eating some noodles here because I haven't had lunch. So tell us your story. How did you become one of Jehovah Witnesses? What happened the lucky day?
Oh, yeah. What happened is a couple Bethelites visited our home in the rural area in the late 60s and started studying with my parents and my brother.
And how old were you then?
I was around 8 years old.
Oh, lucky you.
And so things happened. They progressed pretty quickly. My brother at 10 years old was baptized, and then my parents were also. And so that's
that brother is that the one that's an elder now?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I don't know if being highly intelligent has a lot to do with that, but he was very, very smart, and he graduated at the top of his class. He was always excelled at everything. So being a Jehovah Witness, it was really his cup of tea. He really liked it. So
it used to be kind of a not a stupid religion like it's now. It's more of like a misguided intelligence, all these periods and 1975 and it's like, conspiracy theory. People that believe in conspiracy theories are often not stupid. It's just kind of misguided.
Yep.
So what did you think about the religion when you were 8?
Actually, I was really against it, and I didn't like the idea that I was going to have to stop celebrating my birthday and Christmas, and so up until my later teens, I was dressed. They always laughed about the fact that little Jerry, they had to put the meeting clothes on him and drag him to literally drag him to the Kingdom Hall. And
yeah.
That's how much at that time I didn't like it. And
when you say drag you to the Kingdom Hall, was it literally drag you to the Kingdom Hall?
Yep, they literally have to force me in the car and force me to go.
Okay.
And
then you got baptized as a teenager, and then I think it's fair to ask, what was her name?
Oh, her name was Diane. Yep, Diane Brown. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
When someone really don't want to be a Jehovah Witness, but they get baptized anyway, there's always someone with boobs.
Yep. That's exactly what happened. I got baptized so I could get married and have sex.
Yeah. There is now in the Watchtower of July 2021, there will be an article called if it's how should JWs use matchmaking websites, and basically that if the Watchtower, they can't control websites, matchmaking websites, so they don't want you to use it. But I think that's more sinister than the normal control, because when you grow up in Jehovah Witness, the one of the biggest motivation for doing anything on this planet is having a family, having sex, but also having love, romance, all of that.
Yep.
When Watchtower can control the venue, like here, if you grow up on Iceland, there are only 300 Jehovah Witnesses. So if you want to meet someone that you're not a blood relative to, you basically have to go on an international convention. To go on an international convention, you have to be approved by the elders. That means you have to work for Watchtower to get the possibility to meet someone. So,
wow.
So
The
I think it's
incentive is a
really
lot
simple. And
greater.
I am a live example of that, and you're too. Basically, you had to do what Watchtower tell you in order to get hitched.
Yep.
It is. Can't lie. It was a big part of motivation for me to get baptized. Was I thought I would die in Armageddon because I was such a terrible person. But on the other hand, if you want to live until Armageddon kills me, you want to have a nice family life and stuff like that, and then you have to play by the Watchtower rules.
Yep. That's exactly right. Had to go through the whole uh, courting and chaperoning and all the rules with that, and not be together alone. And like you say, they had all the rules that came along with it, not holding hands at the meeting. And
Yeah.
You were watched and counseled every move you made with that.
Yeah, actually, one of the worst thing with being a witness would actually be dating. It was so much stress. Everyone was watching. Everyone was complaining. I was the kind of person that tried not to make out with my girlfriend and felt always guilty for doing it anyway. And in the end, we went to the elders and basically asked to be reproved.
That's interesting, yeah.
But you told me about your father, because your father, 1973, Jehovah decided that he shouldn't smoke. And then your father was disfellowshipped.
Yep. Actually, what happened is after my parents were both baptized in 1968, they both were smokers. And I remember a lot of people at the hall were smokers. And then they came out with the ruling around 73 that smoking was unclean. And so everyone that I knew quit smoking. And then my father admitted later that he never ever stopped smoking, and he got disfellowship for it after the 1975 the end of the system. Things didn't come when they thought it was inevitably the end will come. And
Well, Jehovah Witnesses claim that they never said that Armageddon will come in 1975. Do you agree with that?
Not really. Not for what I seen in the watchtower and the wakes and what was told to us right from the platform that to be prepared. I remember a talk, stay alive till 75.
Yeah.
And they had a talk that talked about stay alive to 75 was the motto, was the theme of the talk, and was warning you that the system was going to end. And I mean, I actually heard it myself. They may deny it now, but my ears remember hearing it. But it's kind of interesting. So then,
but what was the general vibe against among the witnesses when it came to 1975? What did they say and what did they do?
Well, like for instance, my parents sold their home, and if people said that they heard that there was reports of people selling their home and quitting their jobs, that's actually what happened in my house. My parents quit their secular jobs and started pioneering and sold their house so that they didn't have any material possessions to go into Armageddon. So I mean, I witnessed that happening in
they
my own
actually quit
household.
their job and sold their house prior to 1975.
Yes. Yep.
With the plan to spend up the money, so it's like zero on the bank account in October 1975. Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah. And witnesses always say that they don't do that, but
right.
they did.
But they did. Yeah. So then eventually my dad was caught smoking and was disfellowshipped. So it was interesting living in a household where it was strained because of the fact that you weren't supposed to talk to your own father. You were told, well, you can't talk to him now. He's disfellowshipped. And then later on, it was like expressed that we just couldn't talk to him about spiritual matters. And so that's the way it went. Otherwise, the household went along and acted and functioned as a normal household, even though he was disfellowshipped, you know. So he could still tell you to mow the lawn or do the dishes or do chores, but other than that, it was like,
it's not normal, you know, because the watchtower define what is spiritual matters, you know.
yep.
So if you say I decided to get baptized into a cult, and he said, well, as a father, I think that's a bad idea, and I had several reasons I'd like to explain to you, then, well, that would be a spiritual matter. So he's not allowed to say anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Or if you say, I want to go to Bethel, I think that would be the best career move since Armageddon will come soon. Then he would not be allowed to say that, no, listen, son, Bethel is a bad career move because you remember we sold our house and quit our job before 1975. It was not good for the family economy. That would be reasonable that he would be allowed to say stuff like that to his kid, even though he actually did smoke a cigarette. So the definition of spiritual matters is not like, oh, we're not allowed to talk about pet tigers. No, no one talks about pet tigers anyway. It is a father is not allowed to give career advice to his son if the son is deluded.
Yeah.
That's really sad. Okay, so Jehovah Witnesses also claim you had a nice story about that. You can tell any story you want as long as we kind of civil and nice to the witnesses, because we're going to be nice to them. But witnesses always claim that we don't ask for money. There's a contribution box here, or we don't ask for tidings, but I can show you the bank account number. So they're really asking for money. It's just they say, I'm not eating, I'm just chewing. They're asking for money all the time, but not so many people have been counseled for not giving. I know a few, because they don't have, the Mormons, they have like, you have to pay tithing, and they kind of shame you if you don't pay tithing. From what I heard, they have a list of tithing settlements, and then it's your Jerry Holmberg didn't pay.
Oh, I never knew that.
Witnesses don't have so much of that shaming, but you're the one. Tell your story. It was actually fun.
Yeah, actually, when my parents started studying and dragging me to the Kingdom Hall, it was like, even though I was there and they didn't think I was paying attention, I actually did. And as a youngster, they were always so proud about the fact that they weren't like the Christendom where they passed the collection plate and shamed you into donating money or made you feel obligated because the plate was passed in front of you. They didn't do that, and they had a contribution box, and you could, contribute freely however you feel. But then this is one of the main reasons why I ended up leaving, is as a young married man with a child by 1985, they had the service meeting on Thursday nights, and during the service meeting, they read the account balance, and then they had what they called a democratic vote, where they had you sign on a piece of paper without your name on it, how much you thought you could give monthly. And of course, I was really strapped for money, being a young part-time worker trying to start his own business, doing window cleaning, and had a family, barely able to pay the rent. And so I didn't put anything down. And then when they got done with their vote, they asked everybody to raise their hands, and they decided on an amount of $150 per publisher that they could put in the contribution box each month. And I was like, oh. So then they had everybody raise their hands, you know. Of course, everybody raises their hands, and so did I, because it was like a reflex. It was like, I didn't want to feel like I was out of place. I felt like I was pressured to do it. And so then a few months later, I was approached a couple different times, a couple different meetings by one of the elders, and he came up to me and got me off to the side and asked me, or made a statement, and said that just wanted to let you know that some of us haven't been living up to their financial obligation. And I was like, oh, okay. So after a couple times of hearing this from this same elder, I left the meeting and vowed I would never go back. And I think that was like around 1987. I left, and I never went to another meeting ever again after that.
But your wife was still in.
Yeah, she basically, what happened is when I came home from that meeting, she wasn't at the meeting that night. She stayed home because my son was not feeling well. And I told her that, and she basically stood behind my decision. And she said to me that, well, if you're not going to go anymore, I'm not going to go, because I don't want people coming up and asking me where you are all the time. And so she made the decision basically that since I wasn't going, that she was not going to go, and she stood by that and never went, even though through the years she was still 100% in, even though she physically didn't go to the meetings anymore. But, and we basically faded for over 20 some years. And because we had family on both sides that were in, we knew that we would lose being able to associate with our family members if we, publicly came out and said, no, I'm no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses. We knew that as soon as we did that all family ties would be cut off. So we that's the reason why we did the fading for that many years, is because it was so that basically so my wife could see her family, because she had a large Jehovah Witness family. So and so and then what allowed me to decide to be fully out is my wife passed away in 2006 from cancer. And anyways, then eventually I allowed myself to meet someone new, and was completely mentally out, even though there was triggers that still haunted me during, even after that time period. And even up till today, it's like one of the ones that indoctrinated things that is by not serving idols, or saluting the flag, or being patriotic. That one is the one that because it was impressed on my brain so well that by the methods that they use, that's been the hardest for me to overcome. But so it's like I took my grandson and my son to a college football game. Well, this was last year. It was a big deal because it was a playoff. Iowa and Minnesota played, and it was like it was going to be a really big game deciding the playoffs. And first thing that happens is they play the national anthem, and you're supposed to put your hand over your heart and salute the flag. And it was like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I just couldn't believe that. Oh, wow. That it's like, I'm not supposed to do this. And, but then I had to keep reminding myself and allowing myself that, I'm done and I need to move on, and because I'm no longer, wanting to be a Jehovah Witness anymore. And by that time I, had allowed myself then to look at the internet. So then I found a lot of information and really confirmed that I was in a cult, and the reason why, and confirmed, more.
That's why you're not supposed to look at the internet. It's dangerous. You should
Yep.
only look at jw.org.
Yep.
Information is dangerous.
And the thing that's kind of interesting about jw.org is in 2014, my mother, being one of Jehovah's Witnesses, she started getting Alzheimer's, and she had what they call dementia, so she could remember events that happened, and she could still tell who you were. She didn't have Alzheimer's where she couldn't remember who you were, but she would just get time frames, messed up about when current time frame, like, so if it was 7:00 in the morning, she might think that it was 7:00 at night because she disconnected herself from watching TV or reading newspapers or even the Watchtower literature. But my brother, the elder, installed Roku at her house, and she couldn't get up and change the channel, and he would put it on jw.org. And so she'd be watching JW broadcasting, which she never was used to seeing it. And it made her mad. I'd go over to visit her. I'd have a key to her apartment. I'd go in, and she'd like look at me real sternly, and she'd be like, "Can you turn that off?" And I go, "What?" She goes, "That televangelist on the TV screen there." And I'm like, "What?" "That's jw.org. She goes, "I don't care. That's a televangelist. I don't want to watch them." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." That
She's an apostate, basically.
Yep. Yeah,
She's
she was
moving with the chariot.
And it being a witness, she knew that, well, I can't watch televangelists on TV, that's bad to watch other religions. And she couldn't understand that it was her own religion. She didn't recognize it, it's.
No, I wouldn't blame her for that. I don't recognize. I've seen they even have jw.org flags.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've seen it. I haven't seen it. Well, I've seen flag like a banner. Banner and flag is basically the same thing. If you should be nitpicky, but I saw. So they had in a convention, they had banners, but they were not like traditional flag shaped. But
sure.
But I've seen also on pictures like the traditional national flag size. Made jw.org, and it's kind of fun because it really falls into their definition of idol worship. And as kids, we were traumatized. They would send us to school, and we don't salute the flag. That's a very American thing. I think it's America and North Korea and Nazi Germany that do that. Sorry, but it's very it's not politically correct in Europe, I think, in any country, because it's kind of childhood indoctrination. But anyway, let's stay out of that. We don't salute the flag in Scandinavia, but we do, like when it's the National Day, the Constitution Day. Well, in Norway, you kids wave a flag and eat ice cream. And in Sweden, the whole school would sing the national anthem once and then go into school. So that's all. But we were told that we would be executed and tortured and all that because flags are wrong. And now Watchtower have their own flag.
Yeah.
And they say, well, flags are a subject of admiration and blah, blah, blah. And some people have it on necklace. Well, they have jw.org on necklace now, too.
I've seen some lapel pins.
Yeah?
Round one.
Really, how do they draw the line what's idol worshipping or not? Like in Norway now, there's a new legislation. It's an EU thing, so we need to have the Norwegian flag on every automobile. And Watchtower says that's okay. Sometimes you're supposed to give your life rather than salute the flag, and other places, it's okay. So it's really not from Jehovah, it's from Watchtower. It takes a while to reconcile that you've just been serving men. It's nothing to do with the Bible.
I was wondering the other day about most of the governing body members are older, and it's like as if they keep JW broadcasting for a while, you could see where it'd be desirable for a younger one to want to go, oh, I want to be a governing body member. How do I move up? And you could see where somebody could be looking to that position, almost like a position where they idolize them because, hey, I want to be a governing body member.
Yeah.
I could see that happening, but.
Well, it's difficult to anoint to yourself. It's not possible to fake it, I think.
If you just know, right?
Your mother was anointed.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So how did she come up with that idea?
I can remember at the time that she became one. I can remember seeing her at home with the Bible, crying and praying over the Bible and looking at scriptures and being really upset, and then announcing that she was one of the 144,000. And it was just like, oh, okay. And you asked her how she knew, and she goes, well, I just know. And so it was like she was our partaker up to her death in 2015. And so she and at our small kingdom hall, our small territory, at our particular kingdom hall at one time, we had 6 that professed to be of the anointed. It was like elder and his wife, and another elder and his wife, and then one elder's daughter, and then my mother, totaled to be 6. And it was like I can always remember that seemed to be quite a few. But
like I said, I'm under the impression that a small rural congregation have more people that are anointed. And when we talk about isolated publishers, that publisher that lives all alone in the middle of nowhere with no congregation, they have a lot of anointed. Like half of the people I know that anointed are living on places where there's not even a congregation. And I think it's just human nature that if you know a lot of physical Jehovah Witnesses, and then you want to be with them in paradise, pet the panda and eat the fruit, and But if you don't have as many physical witness friends, you like Jehovah and you want to spend eternity with him.
yeah.
So statistically, I never have a good statistic on this, but my impression is that small rural congregations have a lot of anointed people.
I know that I was always intrigued with the fact that a lion would eat grass, but
yeah, that's a problem because their digestional tract is too short for that. They would starve to death.
Yep.
Well, maybe Jehovah didn't know about that, and it's a weird story anyway. But
yeah.
There was someone here in the feed called Ellis Bells that say, I have a family in the US who have the jw.org flag instead of the American flag outside their house.
Oh,
If you have you can call in if you want to, but if you have a picture of that, like a legit picture of that, that they actually use it, could you mail that to me? Because I would need it for a legal case I'm working on. It's not evidence, but I can use it as an example. So if anyone have pictures of Jehovah Witness Convention with jw.org flags, please send them to Goatlike Personality. And
yeah, that'd be interesting to see that.
Watchtower, they do all kind of crap, and I know some YouTubers they tested us for we're not allowed to use the JW logo in any way, shape, or form. And that's just stupid because JW could be John Wayne on a blue background. And also, when they use it as an idol, they cannot claim ownership to an idol. They cannot claim ownership to the name Jehovah. They cannot claim ownership to the name Witness and Jehovah Witness. They cannot say that I am not a Jehovah Witness, because if I claim to be a Jehovah Witness, well, that's my constitutional right.
Yeah,
they did not made up the name Jehovah. It was made up by a Catholic priest.
yeah.
I'm not allowed to call myself a doctor. I'm not allowed to call myself an engineer. I'm allowed to call myself an architect or Jehovah Witness or Christian or Muslim or Buddhist. So that's why. Okay, so you told a story about when you were canceled for the first time. That's a funny story.
Oh, yes. After my wife and I had our first child, my mother and her mother, my mother-in-law, lived pretty close by, and they evidently complained to the elders about the fact that they didn't think that they were able to see their grandson as much as they would like to. And they both claimed each other saw the child more than the other, which wasn't really true. And what it had come down to is my wife, it was a stubborn woman, and she wanted to have a schedule for her child. So it was like they could only come and visit her certain hours and certain days, because it just got to be too much for her trying to take care of a new baby, with all that goes on with changing diapers, and she was having trouble getting acclimated, and so she kind of cut them off there. And so I was placed out in field service with the circuit overseer, and I went out in field service for the circuit overseer's visit. And anyways, while I was out in service with him, he pulled this Awake magazine out, which talked about how mothers and mother-in-laws felt this way about their grandson, that they just weren't able to see him enough, and so this whole jealousy thing started up, and there was this article talked about it, how it was that way. And it anyways, he gave it to me to read over. He said this might help you adjust to what naturally comes along between grandparents.
Yeah.
And so it was, I thought that was kind of interesting, that it was the first time.
Basically, your wife set some boundaries. That her mother and her mother-in-law cannot come every day they want and just stay in your house, because you need some privacy. I would not like I never met my mother-in-law actually, but obviously you don't want your mother-in-law and my mother to live in the house, basically. But the funny thing, if you've never been a Jehovah Witness and you're watching this, the reason why I think this is kind of what it is to be a Jehovah Witness, because they not only knows it, but they think they have authority to tell you that, well, you're putting up some boundaries for your grandma, but that's not okay. You should not It would be the opposite if your mother-in-law would not be a Jehovah Witness. Let's say they were Mormon, then the elders would come and say, "Well, I know you're having your mother-in-law over every Wednesday, and maybe that's not healthy."
It can go the opposite way when it meets the organization's needs. And
Yeah, tell because what I don't like with Jehovah Witnesses, they often mean well, but if they can, if someone is don't uh, obey the watchtower, then they will try to put the other family members up against them. And when you were fading, your mother, you told the story that your mother was talking to your child, and your child talked to you. And what did the child say?
that she wanted, that she thought it would, because I was going to die at Armageddon because I didn't come to the meetings, that she wanted to move in with grandma. And so
Oh,
I put my foot down and I used the head of the household card to the elders and to my family, and just says, well, I'm the head of the household. I decided that she's my daughter. She's going to live with me and get on the school bus every day and go to school and live here at my house. And
did you have to say, well, did you have to say that to the elders? Were they
yeah, I
involved?
did, because what happened is uh, after my daughter went to the Kingdom Hall with my mother one night, she just decided she wasn't coming home. And so it was like, instead of causing a commotion in the middle of the night, you know, I got a hold of her the next day, and then she still wouldn't allow me to speak to my daughter or let my daughter come out of the house. And so I basically called the elders and told them what was going on and put my foot down. And they just basically told her, you better let your granddaughter go home with your son. And so that's what it came down to, is I knew that uh, they always, talked about uh, the man should be the head of the household, make decisions. So it's like, um, and rule over his household. So I use that basically as a trump card to uh, get what I wanted, and that was to get my daughter home.
Yeah, well, it was nice of them to tell her to leave the kid back, but but it's a very typical. How old were your daughter?
She was like around 10 years old at the
Yeah,
time.
so and that one say, the Jehovah Witness meetings, they are not suitable for children. Tell children that if you stay with your, soon Jehovah and the governing body is going to kill everyone that's not a Jehovah Witness. It's also going to kill all the kids that live with parents that are not Jehovah Witness. Your father is a threat to your life, and the kid all of a sudden say that I don't want to stay with my father, and then they got this love bombing, positive reinforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when I was forced to not like my cousins because they wasn't Jehovah Witness, and you say, "Well, I don't like them because they don't love Jehovah," and then it's like, "Oh, what a beautiful child! Yes, we didn't force him. He said it by himself that he didn't want to be with his cousins." But they push you in the corner, and then when you say what, it's evil.
Yep. Yeah,
It's
it's like um I had a neighbor boy that lived down the road from us, and we would we met because we were close to the same age, but he was Catholic. And as soon as my mother found out that he was Catholic, she told me one day that I couldn't talk to him anymore. And I'm like, what? And it was like, and we were both probably around 14 years old at the time. And she even made up a story that said Catholics are evil, they'll steal from you, he's no good. And it was like, I'm like, of course I seen through that, and it's like, it's kind of interesting. And then I kept seeing him in secret, and haven't talked to him and stuff like that. And then one day he told me, he goes, I can't talk to you anymore. And I'm like, why is that? And he goes, well, Monsignor pastor says that since you and your family are Jehovah's Witnesses, I can't talk to you anymore. And I was like, oh, it's coming from both sides.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of fun with Christians. They always say we talk about love, but they really don't talk so much about love. Not always. It's like almost cults. They do this that we have the solution to every loving, but then they really start making those that are not a part of the cult to be subhumans. So when we have love and friendship for all humans, well, it doesn't include them because they're subhumans. It goes really fast to being loving organization to being a elitist organization.
That's right.
It's not only the witnesses.
Right. Not only them. And
so if you would explain to someone that's never been a Jehovah Witness why you don't want to be a Jehovah Witness, what would you say then?
Mainly it's because of the restrictions they put on you. And it's, for me, it was like, I've never liked having someone be in total control of my life. And it's like telling me every move I should make, everything I should think, everything I should do. And it was like, so that, and the fact that once I did stop going to the meetings and become inactive, I started working for a secular work then so that I had regular employment. And then my employer realized that I had intellectual skills. So it was like they sent me to college on a grant from where I worked at. And so at nights I went to college and learned math and calculus and improved on my education and advanced in my work. And it was like being a Jehovah's Witness, I could never have done that because I would have had to use all my time into service to Jehovah. And that's what they wanted, but it isn't really what I wanted. And so that's what I would say to, ones that why I don't want to be a Jehovah Witness is because, they were just too controlling. And then, of course, I learned later about from different channels, like, different YouTube channels about Jehovah's Witnesses. I could put a plug in for a few, but basically, you learned about the history and how cultish they were and the practices they made through the years and changes in doctrine. And if one learns about all of those things, it really cements the fact that it's an organization that you don't want to belong to. And I've seen examples of, even in my small kingdom hall, of child sexual abuse that they covered up. And, so it's like, that's another thing is hiding that up. And, young ones that struggled at the kingdom hall at the time back in the 80s, one of the things that particularly disturbed me is they were really big on demons and spiritual things. And some of these young people that didn't have a father, but they had the mother, and she had several kids. When they weren't advancing and becoming spiritual, different ones from the hall went to their house, and these young people made them throw away all their possessions. Like if they had books that deemed weren't safe for them to read, or they
Yeah.
had items in their house. It was like they went in and made them throw everything away, you know, take it out on the curb and throw it away. That's, you know, that's causing, you know, that's got Satan's in there, the demons are in there. You need to throw these clothes away, you know. They like certain styles of clothes that didn't fit in with being a Jehovah Witness, you know, so those all had to be thrown away for the girls, and the boys had their own TVs in their own rooms. Those had to be thrown away, you know, whether they wanted them to or not. And those kind of things really disturbed me back then. And it was like, because my wife and I weren't going to the meetings, there would be my sister and an elder came to our house while I was working and tried to talk my wife into throwing all this furniture away that we bought bought secondhand, because that could all be demonized. And she called me at work and she was like, "What do I do?" And I go, "Well, don't let them do what you want." I said, "You can put it on me and tell them that I said that you're not throwing any of that stuff away." And so when I got home, they tried to confront me and ask me, "Are you going to throw this stuff away? It could be demonized." And I go, "No, we're not going to do that today." And then once I put my foot down, then they left and went home. But so, yeah, there could be a lot of reasons I didn't point out why, but
There's a classic, the demon scare, and if you think about it, I kind of explain like religion, especially like Watchtower religion, is like selling troll insurance. We have trolls in Norway, and if I want to sell you troll insurance, you will not pay because you're not afraid of trolls, and you don't trust my anti-troll authority, you know. But that's why childhood indoctrination is so real. So you make them scared, you explain every time. Like my poor wife, ex-wife, Jehovah wife, she had anxiety, so they said you have to give more time to Watchtower. It didn't work, so they say you have to give more, and then they say, maybe there are demons, maybe you bought something on a flea market. We were pioneers. We don't own this, we never bought anything new in our life, and we live on an old farm, and old farms in Norway, they are famous for, like, traditionally for trolls and leprechauns and Santa Claus. And Santa Claus in Scandinavia is a pagan creature. He's like this big and live under the barn on a farm. So, but she has anxiety and panic attacks, and they talk about demons. It's a way, because basically what they are selling paradise is troll insurance. So you have to tell people that trolls are real and this insurance is real, and you give me the money because I'm elected to collect the money for troll insurance. It only works if you make people afraid. But if you think about it, one of the reasons why you believe Jehovah Witnesses are real, if you talk to witnesses and you claim you're a witness and you talk to them, a lot of them will say that they know that this is God's one true religion because we are the one that are attacked by demons.
I would just like to comment on that, by the way. I do apologize. I'll introduce myself. My name is Andrew, by the way. When anyone here is Horace. Jehovah's Witnesses, they are a very interesting bunch. I'm not a Jehovah's Witness myself. I've experienced them, a third party, as we like to say. I would just say they are the spawn of the devil, in my personal opinion. Of course, not all of them are bad. The problem is they are indoctrinated to believe in a certain thing, which is obviously the major issue that we have right now. Myself, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, all this sort of stuff. I've had many Jehovah's Witnesses come to my door and try to indoctrinate myself, and I give them the normal spiel, I don't want to be indoctrinated by this, but it's just kind of like, well, where does the real line lie between true belief in a God and screwing your own family and your own friends over by joining some sort of cult? Because that's, at the end of the day, that's all it really is. It is a cult. It's not a true religious organization. The Catholic, well, I can see you go like chap. You're kind of a bit, in that sort of sense.
Well, the
Mm.
Catholics have done some weird stuff. You just ask anyone that lives on any other continent than Italy, including
You all right? You all right? You all right? There's just some weird shit as well. Don't get me wrong. There's just some weird shit as well. I think most religions have done some weird shit. To be perfectly honest,
Yeah.
across the spectrum. Whether that's Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, any religion, there's always a bad sects of every religion. However, the difference is though with Jehovah's Witnesses, they are basically telling people that even though God has given us the resources to heal us, heal ourselves with regards to obviously going to hospitals and things like that, they're basically saying you shouldn't do that because it's against God's wishes to obviously stay alive. And that's what I've been taught. So if you want to disagree with that point, please enlighten me. I'm more
Well,
than happy
God
to
also gave us condoms, and the Pope doesn't like them. So,
the Pope isn't God, so he doesn't really count.
well, yeah. But I was in the Spanish congregation in Trondheim, and so obviously we talk to Catholics because, yeah, Scandinavia is Lutheran, but we're catering to Catholics when we preach in Spanish. And the funny thing is that it was embarrassing because we would knock at someone's door and start speaking Spanish, and they spoke Norwegian, and we'll look at them like, "What's wrong with you? We are sent here by Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. This is a loving arrangement. Please speak Spanish with us." So we forced them to speak Spanish, even though we absolutely couldn't speak correct Spanish. And I remember one elder would always refer to us as "Somos los testículos de Jehová." We're Jehovah's testicles. Anyway, what we would say is that, and this is in the reasoning from the scriptures, when you talk to Catholics, we would say that the most important teaching of the Catholic Church is the one with apostolic succession. Because we all know that he said that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. Everyone agrees with that. But there's nowhere in the Bible that says that there will be succession, one pope after another. And since it's not in the Bible, that means that the current pope has no authority. So the idea so that's what Watchtower define as the most important teaching of the Catholic Church, is the one of apostolic succession. However, now the Jehovah Witnesses say that the faithful and discreet slave is the governing body. And it was, and Jesus decided this when he elected Rutherford.
Right.
So by the same logic, now at this point, if you speak to Jehovah Witnesses again, you should ask about apostolic succession and ask them to show that from reasoning in the scripture, because the reasoning in scripture is like a handbook. So if someone says I'm a Mormon, you can look up how to prove him wrong. And if someone says
trust me, I've met many Mormons before. They're all the same.
Yeah, but it would be fun to hear what they say about that.
They have some interesting ideas. Some stuff I wouldn't agree with, but I would say the majority of these people, though, they are too indulged in these sort of false beliefs and ideals that they want to believe in. Obviously, for example, let's say you get back to standard historical Christianity. It says if you believe in God, you're going to go to heaven. If you do nothing wrong, obviously you'll be absolved of your sins if you do something like this. Of course, that's the way it works. Obviously, up until that. The problem arises though, when you have these shoot-off sects of certain groups stating, well, we can do better than the Catholic Church. We can do better than Protestants. We can do better than that. We'll give you, more in heaven than what they are offering. And it's kind of like, well, if there wasn't a Christian or a Catholic Church to start off with, how do these little cultist groups gain their followers? How do they gain their religion? It's not possible, because if there wasn't a religious group to start off with, they would have nothing to go by. And that's the way that I like to look at it. To be perfectly honest, and again, you may disagree with that point. The thing is, these Mormons, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they are all cultists, they are heretics, they need to be burned at the stake. Well, maybe that's 16th century thought, but they need to be burned. They need to be gone. They need to go to the window. They need to say goodbye.
You can't say that on my channel unless you also say that you're joking. You can't. That's hate speech.
I'm joking.
Yeah, and don't say it again. No, but
Well,
I created my own religion called the Shiny Bucket, and we're better than the Catholic Church. And Mormons get 2 planets for only 5% tithing. So it's really easy to create your own religion. But thanks for calling in. I have someone else here. Are you a Jehovah Witness? Have you been a Jehovah Witness?
Yes, I was. I think I haven't been keeping tab on how long I've been out of the organization. I left.
Are you
just
disassociated yet?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know.
Because this is Disassociation Night.
Yeah, I was looking at your description in your video, and I said, oh man, this is cool. Let me go ahead and jump on here and kind of see what's going on. But I left for theological reasons. I got to a point where I just wanted to go back to the manuscripts of whether it's in the Tanakh or whether you're looking at the New Testament. You go back to the Septuagint, you start to look at the Protestant Reformation, all the books that were sort of taken out of the canon and whatnot. And as they were grooming me to be a ministerial servant, my biggest issue was the 1914 doctrine, right? Because I wanted to get to a point where I was just allowing scripture to breathe, right? You go to Daniel 4, I don't see anything in there about 1914. Obviously, you can read it in there if you want to. Yeah. But that last caller that was on, yeah, he also brought up a couple of things that I was bringing up to the elders where I said, the organization has this lingo where it says, Jehovah's Witnesses or the Watchtower Tract Society is God's organization. It's the channel of communication that he uses for truth and whatnot. But then you start to ask questions like, okay, well, what was his channel of communication in the 2nd century, in the 3rd century, in the 4th century, in the 5th century? You see what I'm saying, man? Like, yeah, like, and I wasn't getting axiomatic responses, and it was hard because the truth of the matter is I did form some pretty good relationships. Well, at least I thought, when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And it's weird, man. It's like a flip gets switched and people start talking like androids all of a sudden. It becomes more about defending the organization than actually trying to find truth, scriptural truth. You know what I'm saying? And so, but I wasn't raised as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, so I didn't have like these horror. Go ahead. You look like you're going to ask a question.
No, I'm just thinking, why would anyone join it?
Oh, I'll tell you why. So when I studied the Bible, right, I have a very militant disposition with regards to scripture. If I'm going to serve this patron deity, Yahuwah, right, or Yahweh, and he says do this and don't do that, right? Whether or not people agree with the Bible, if you're going to decide to live by the Bible, it seems to me to be the case that the most objective thing to do is to not nitpick what you want to subscribe to, right? And when I'm reading the Bible, right, let's see, how can I be as concise as possible? Well, okay, for instance, as I was talking about with the 1914 doctrine, okay, I don't go beyond what the prophets tell me. If Daniel is speaking to a celestial being, yeah, and that celestial being is helping him to ascertain what supernatural ability he has to delineate and interpret dreams, I don't need to go beyond Daniel, right? The governing body doesn't claim to have those abilities. And when you look at Daniel 4, he interprets Nebuchadnezzar's dream, and there's nothing in the text that says that there's a dual fulfillment or anything like that. That was my biggest beef. I said, okay, I'm trying to live by this book. Go ahead.
No. The double. It used to be, because a lot of the stuff in the Bible is highly immoral and terrible, and I used to kind of say, well, everything has a double fulfillment. That was Jehovah Witnesses believe. And then you could say, okay, this terrible stuff happened because there was a double fulfillment, like a code. But they actually removed that now. So now it's just something has a double fulfillment.
So certain things do, certain things don't. Yeah, that's what they say. Absolutely. But that was,
it used to be when I was a kid, and I have a speech, the second speech. We read something, and then we would say, "What does this mean today?" Well, the guy who this and this happened had its fulfillment when the anointed bought a new
right
for Brooklyn, and the guy who dropped his sandal means the anointed bought a new car to drive when they went to the convention. Everything has something to do with us.
Absolutely.
Now it's
Absolutely.
just something has a double fulfillment, and they get to pick what.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
And that gave me a lot of cognitive dissonance too. So I was leaving around the time that purple book came out, God's Kingdom Rules, I think it was called. That book came out at the convention, and I slowly was making my exit out. I was fading out at that point. But yeah, and it blew my mind, man. You know, they got all those books in the B school, yeah. All those books of antiquity of that Joseph Rutherford wrote and stuff like that. And for the longest time, they've been saying we're in the truth. We're in the truth. Well, if it's the truth, why is it that the understandings change so much? Shouldn't it be stagnant? You know, like
at least go in one direction. Like
agreed.
There's flip flops. Like, will the people in Sodoma have a resurrection? You could just say that we don't know, and that's it. But witnesses always claim that they have to answer. So it was.
I agree.
Yes. And then there were new like no, and then there were new like yes, and then there were new like no, and then there were new like yes, and then there were new like no, and then it was yes and maybe and no.
Very good point.
And that's the Holy Spirit. And they actually call this gradually.
There's a lot of people there's a lot of different sects that how would you say subscribe to that hermeneutic methodology. Yeah, they call it progressive revelation. And a lot of different sects within the umbrella of the Judeo-Christian ethic will latch on to that. So they can keep their members despite the fact that they were epically wrong about something. Yeah. And so but yeah, man, that's I guess that's all I wanted to contribute though.
Yeah,
so,
but if you're still a Jehovah Witness, then you can actually is Marlo Eugene your name?
Well, that's my first and my middle name. That's my moniker. My last name is Stamps.
Stamps, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to disassociate?
Well, so I keep Torah. Yeah. And
but the Jehovah Witness watchtower religion.
Say that again?
Yeah, but this is not I see you're a religious person. But do you want to disassociate from watchtower because this is Disassociation Night?
Well, isn't it something that happens arbitrarily? That's another thing. Like I'm not too familiar with their theocratic policies because I was never an elder. Right. I've always assumed that they've just been keeping tabs on me. And so I've just assumed that I'm probably disfellowshipped. I haven't been contacted by anybody. Nobody stops by the house. None of that.
You're not disfellowshipped then, unless because to be disfellowshipped, you will get an invitation to a judicial meeting, and they will say that if this date doesn't fit, then please give us a new date, and then you can give them a new date. But then the second letter will be that if you don't show up, we will have a judgment based on the evidence that exists. So I got that. And
so what do they do for people like me that just? I mean, I'm not hiding, right? And
no, but you're according to them, you are inactive publisher.
Even though I got YouTube's up of me, like I've been on a couple of XJW interviews and stuff like that, and
yeah, you're a Jehovah Witness basically, according.
Oh wow, okay.
So you have the right to disassociate now, and we'll be happy if you did.
I'd be honored if you do it with me, because that's what I'm here for.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I'm sorry, guys. I just literally popped up because it popped up on my YouTube, and I was like, hey, this is cool. And they got a StreamYard link. Let me go ahead and get involved and see what's going on here. So, but I'll go ahead and log out and then listen to some more stories. Unless you guys had any more questions or anything you wanted to know.
No. But do you want to disassociate?
I mean, to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter to me. I mean,
that's even better.
You know, but like I said, if there was something in the Bible that specifically said that this is the process that you have to follow, then I would feel obligated to do that. But I'm not obligated to follow any arbitrary rules made up by a group of people that claim to be following the Bible, but I can't find the precepts that you're going by actually in Scripture. So I don't take them that seriously. You see what I'm saying?
It's even better then, because Marlo Eugene Stamps doesn't care about the watchtower anymore.
You know? So, but all right, guys. Thanks for letting me come on and say my little 2 cents. Yeah?
Yeah, okay.
All right,
okay.
You guys take care.
Good to meet you.
So, well, that's nice. We got I think watchtower would count as a disassociation.
I think so.
not taking them with the right amount of seriousness, not acknowledging their heavenly authority that they received in 1919. Do you know it's in the Bible that they received it in 1919? It says in Revelation that there were two witnesses prophetizing. What do you say, prophetizing? And they were dead, and they came to life again. And the number 2 symbolize Rutherford and 7 others. I like that.
Oh.
So number 2 symbolize 8.
Huh.
And when it said they lied dead in the middle of the street, it meant they were in prison in Atlanta. And then when they were dead, the world was happy, sending each other gifts. That's a description of World War I. So it fits perfect. It's incredible how you could actually believe that that they were elected in 1919 actually is in the Bible, because it's nothing that fits. Not the numbers, nothing.
Right.
Nothing fits the description of them being in prison at Atlanta, because it says they were 2 witnesses. How do you say in English? Prophesizing, is that the word?
Yep, proselytizing or proselytizing, is that what that?
No, when you're a prophet.
Oh, when you're a prophet. Oh, prophet. Yeah, I'm not sure. Prophetic.
If someone knows, please call in. Anyway, the Bible says that they are, giving out prophecies, the 2 witnesses. So that also doesn't fit, because Watchtower claimed that Rutherford wasn't a prophet.
Oh.
So,
didn't he?
No,
didn't he prophesy though that King David and the men of old would be coming to San Diego?
Yeah, but they say we never said we were a prophet. We just predict the future in the name of Jehovah.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, it's like they say we don't have any leaders. We just have people taking the lead, and you have to do what they tell you.
That's right.
And they also say what they say, that a wife and husband are equal partners, and she must be in submission. They just redefine words every time. Or like you say, we don't ask for money. There's a donation box here, here, and here, and this is the bank account. And
my new worldly wife, I always, when I got a chance to, she knew I was joking. I'd always tell her that when you make that decision, make sure you do it under submission and under subjection to your husband, and do what he says. Be a good wife, and she always really got a kick out of that. That I would say those things to her. She knew I didn't mean them though.
Yeah, like you said, you used the I'm the head of the household card. I actually used it twice when I was a Jehovah Witness. You have to argue with the elders, and I hated it because I didn't believe it. But you have to play the game, and they were harassing my wife back then, ex-wife, now ex-wife, and I had to talk to them. Well, I'm the head of the household, and I've decided this, and I just had pulled a card to come up the situation. But then when I stopped going to the meetings, and she had. She's a wonderful person, so it's not in any way a criticism again. But she had a nervous breakdown. She had anxiety, depression, delusion. She was really suffering. And then they were. Yeah, I remember they told her that in front of me. They were publicly humiliating me. They said, you don't have to respect the headship arrangement because your husband is mentally diseased. I was still going to meetings, but, they would say that in front of people, would basically give them the right to... thank you to Gina Weiss, and the previous guy was TTHH. So, thank you. Super sticker. Hi, so... No, they do that.
Yep.
So you had you got to disassociate, but you had a statement because your brother is an elder.
Oh, yep.
So you can send him a message. So when he Google him, he's a public person. When you're Jehovah Witness elder, you're a public person. So we can mention him. So when he Google himself, he will find this.
Oh, yeah.
And if he
Yep.
disagrees, we're not going to blame him or shame him or anything. You know,
No.
if he feels that we said something wrong about him or anyone else here, we're not going to burn anyone on the stake, obviously. But if there's a Jehovah Witness feel that we said something bad about them, you are allowed to call in and say that. So that obviously includes your brother too. But so say to your brother what you want to say to Brother Elder Holmberg.
Oh, yes. My brother, James Holmberg, the elder in the town that I used to be from, I just letting him know that it's up to him whether he wants to try to keep and get in contact with me, besides the annual telephone call to invite me to the memorial. But I have made the decision that I want to disassociate and no longer be one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
And no ill thoughts against anyone or the Jehovah's organization. It's just that I've decided that I no longer believe in anything that comes from the watchtower. And I'm making it clear here that I no longer want to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and making my decision here live on YouTube for all to see.
That's cool. I like the idea that, well, according to Watchtower, Jehovah is watching this. He watch everything, including porn and apostate YouTube channels. But if there's another Jehovah Witness watching this, you can take a note and call Bethel and say the following: Jerry Holmberg is no longer one of Jehovah Witnesses.
Yay!
So let's see if you get any congratulations here in the comment. So if anyone else wants to disassociate this lovely weekend, you can call in. I gave you the link here. No burning of Jehovah Witnesses or hate speech, of course, but I'm pretty sure he meant it as a joke. So
I think so too.
Yeah, congratulations from XJW True Survivors and Brick by Brick. It's a window cleaning colleague.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're 3 window cleaners here at least. Okay, so in America, when you're out cleaning windows, do people sometimes come and ask you if you're a Jehovah Witness?
You know, I never had that happen because I did it for such a short time, but then it was such a small area that when I stopped doing it, it was like all the other brothers at the Kingdom Hall would be doing it. And it was such a small area, it wasn't hard to see somebody out cleaning windows, because that was kind of unusual to see people. I knew that they were witnesses because I knew them directly, but I've never had anybody do that. Have you had somebody ask you if you were a Jehovah Witness?
Yeah, sometimes people ask me if I'm a Jehovah Witness. Worldly people, but not so often.
It must have got known even in the world that Jehovah's Witnesses did window cleaning.
Yeah, and some witnesses spread out the rumor because it's a way to avoid competition. If you spread out the rumor that all that clean windows are Jehovah Witnesses, then worldly people will not be window cleaners. So I know some people that do that. They mention it all the time that, oh, I'm a Jehovah Witness and we're window cleaning. Most everyone that's clean windows are Jehovah Witness, as a way to get rid of competition.
Well, I know even among Jehovah's Witnesses that there was for cleaning businesses and window cleaning that other brothers would undercut another brother's price, and would do it cheaper, and then they would use the fact that that's business. If I say that I can do it for a certain price, you know, because one brother would go and tell him, "Why'd you steal my business?" And it was like, business is business. We keep the politics out of the religion. Business is business. Whether I went in to another town and took your job away by doing it for a lower price, knowing that if you quit doing it, then I'll have the business the whole time, and if I want to, I can raise my prices back up.
Yeah, some brothers are really childish about this, and some are serious. I remember I used to have the cleaning the airport outside Trondheim, so that's a big job, like twice a year, and you able to support yourself like 1 month in the spring and 1 month in the autumn and 1 week in the middle in the summer, and that's a good job. You make like half a normal year's salary on only 3 months, less than 3 months. So it's a good price, but you had to work really hard, and I was young. So it's like, well, being a grown up, you can't like run from window to window. But I remember there was an elder called me from the congregation, said, well, we have some questions here about window cleaning on the airport. How much time do you spend on that? How many? So I thought, there was a privilege because I was working very hard, and I thought maybe I could help the circuit overseer or Bethel or something. That's why they were doing these inquiries. So he was asking very detailed how much time and what much time I had for field service. And then I asked, why? Well, I'm going there to give them an offer. Which is absolutely not the way you do it. You call as a friend and ask, in detail how much time it was. And I got angry and yelled at him. And he had all this self-righteous thing. How does it come that I am the only one that understand that Norway is run by capitalism and we're all brothers and we can compete. Business is business. But he called as an elder and asked me in detail how much time it would take. And he's a more let's call him Brother A, and Brother A is not a good window cleaner. So if it would take me 1 month, it would take him 4 months. So he couldn't do it anyway. I think I cleaned the airport inside and outside, including removing the dust. That's a lot in the airport, because there's a lot of climbing to remove dust. In 5 weeks. The company that did it before me was 2 guys in 2 months, so that's 4 months. So only reason why you can compete is when you're young, pioneer, 20, you work like super fast and make good money.
Yep. I used to try to go so fast at some of the jobs that I would do that I would get done that I actually hurt myself, because they were like, oh, well, it only took you this much time to do, but you put in 200% of your strength and did it way faster than what most people would do it. But it ended up hurting you in the long run, because it was like, oh, you're done already? Well, that wasn't that hard. We shouldn't have to pay you that much,
Yeah. It's a typical. No, it's a good job from a pioneer perspective. You work as a window cleaner 2 days a week or 1 day a week, and then the rest of the time is just walking slowly. The pioneer stroll from door to door, having a vacation basically, because being a pioneer is about wasting time, and then cleaning windows is about working like there's a war going on. So
yeah.
But then when Armageddon doesn't come and you grow a little older and you find a wife, and then poop, you got the baby and you have to work. You can't work that hard 5 days a week as you could when you're 20 years old and pioneering. I used to clean I could clean 40 customers in one day when I was pioneering. You're in the 20s and the rest of the week you're just drinking coffee and talking about the Bible. If I go out now cleaning 40 customers in a day, I would probably die, literally.
Yeah.
So it's a dead end. And then I know in Scandinavia, we have social democracy and stuff like that. So you basically have free education and free healthcare and everything. So when a Jehovah Witness elder is, middle-aged, he can no longer work as a window cleaner. So the government offer him a free education in most cases to work with something else.
Oh.
And they get the benefit check while they are on that education. So they get a new education, and a lot of them will try to become not a nurse, but the stuff that's under a nurse. I don't know what that's called.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So they get it's a 3-year education, and they learn, how to change diapers and all that thing. So you're not a nurse. So it goes doctor, nurse, and then this profession. It's a helper to the nurse, and they make good money too. Not really good money, but it's a typical Jehovah Witness job, and it's a good job because you can live wherever. You can be a need greater because that kind of job exists everywhere in Sweden. The problem is with this ex-window cleaner elders with that education, they can't work in it because when they go to a hospital, and then there is a female telling them to go to that room and mop up that, they're like, well, I am a Jehovah Witness male with a penis, and I think it would be much better if you go to that room and mop up that, and I'll be talking to Jehovah. They get fired because they can't obey orders from the nurses, and the nurses are female.
Yeah.
So, my government had wasted a lot of money on educating ex-window cleaning elders into becoming these nurses that absolutely refuse to do what they are told to do, because why would I listen to a woman when they are wrong about their job that they have an education and
Exactly. Yeah.
Is there anyone here that want to disassociate? I think this is a great idea. We should have Disassociation Night instead. When we were witnesses, I think first Saturday every month was magazine. We should deliver magazine. We turn it into first Saturday every month is Disassociation Night with Goatlike. And yeah, there's someone called Sheeplike. I don't like that name. You could change it to Goatlike demeanor. Congratulations. I'll love to call in next time. You can call in now, but probably he or she has a reason not to do it. So we can end now with we had 2 disassociations, and then we will have Sheeplike next month. So
there you go.
Yeah. So thank you very much to everyone. Thanks for the super chats and super stickers, and thank you to Jerry Holmberg with a very Swedish name, and see you in paradise.